How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is another cold day here at MT Garage. We ended up getting that extreme cold warning, and I think today it was like minus 40 degrees Celsius or something like that, so it's a little bit ridiculous. So ridiculous, in fact, that my wife's car would not start today. We had it plugged in, so the block heater was going, but for some reason it still wouldn't start. So it's almost like the battery's getting too cold or something. So today we are going to be working on that and seeing if, first of all, we can get the EP3 out of the garage so that we can bring her car into here. So I ended up picking up some pretty cheap wheels. A buddy of mine was selling them, and I'm supposed to give him a shout out because they're such baller wheels. So Ian Peters, thank you so much for hooking me up with these wheels. I'll drop his Instagram below. You guys can give him a follow. Make sure you tell him that I sent you there. So we're gonna get these wheels put on real quick. Get the car lowered to the ground. Hopefully it starts. I have had the battery charger on it, so it should fire, but if it doesn't, then that's another problem we got to deal with. But yeah, if we can get it out of here, bring the Suzuki into the garage, and then we'll get started on that. So yeah, let's just get into it.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so I got the Suzuki in the garage, got the heater going for a little bit, so it's almost tolerable in here. So I'm gonna get to work on this thing and see if we can do something about the starting issue. So here's what I have in mind. So I have this onboard battery charger, which I got off of one of our parts cars, and also has this little extension cord with an adapter on the end. So what I'm planning on doing is hooking this up to the battery, and then I will plug this end into this as well as the block heater that's already on the car, and then that way when the car gets plugged in, it's going to charge the battery and the block heater will be on at the same time, and hopefully that helps us out a little bit. So this is my wife's 2008 Suzuki SX4 JLX. This used to be my daily driver, and I used to keep it in showroom condition, but it actually got hail damage a few years ago. But when I was still driving it, I bought this Optima battery for it, and it's been doing really well for the car. But for some reason this winter, it's just, for whatever reason, the car does not want to start when it's super cold. This is the first time we've ever had an issue with it not starting. So I don't know if it's the battery itself. Optima batteries are usually really good, and if they do end up having problems, it just takes a charge and then they're good as new again. So I'm hoping by hooking up this battery charger to it that it's going to solve the problem. So I'm trying to figure out a way to mount this thing, and I think because these studs are so long on the battery tie down, I think what I'm going to do is release that and see if the charger will actually sit on top of the battery, and then we'll be able to just clamp it down with the tie down. I'm hoping that'll work. It's going to be very close though, because the length of the stud that's left over and the thickness of this guy is pretty dang close. So I'm not sure if it's going to work, but that's what I'm going to try first, and then we'll see what happens. Alright, so I got the battery charger installed, or at least it's mounted anyway. These studs are a little overkill, but it's all that I had laying around, but I got it nice and tight. I did test it with the hood closed, and it does still clear the hood even with them being up so high. So if I really cared, I could cut these off with a grinder or something to make them a bit shorter, but for the time being I'm just going to leave them as is. And while I was fishing the wires through, the ends actually fell off, so I replaced those with some new ends, so it's all nice and clean now, so it should have a good connection. So the next thing I'm going to do is hook up the negative to negative and the positive to the positive, and then we're going to figure out a way to route the wires. So I have this, which will plug into that extension cord with the adapter, and then I also have to feed the block heater cord back up into the engine bay, and then we'll kind of just mock it up probably in this area somewhere, and then I'll probably just have the cord come out right about here instead, and then when that gets plugged in, then it'll power the battery charger as well as the block heater. So we'll see if that solves our problem. Alright guys, well, as you could see, the Suzuki started no problem in the morning, so installing that battery charger, it did the trick. So whether there's an issue with the charging system on the Suzuki, or maybe the battery was just a little bit cold and wasn't charging properly, whatever the case was, the charger fixed it. So it's been a few weeks now since I installed it, and the Suzuki's started every time. There's been a few nights where it's actually gotten down to about minus 50 degrees Celsius. So really glad that the battery charger is working. So yeah, if we plug it in every night, it starts no problem. And we've even left it unplugged a few times on some of the colder nights, and it fired up. So it's given that battery a little bit of extra juice that it needs to get it started in the morning, so it seems to have done the trick. So really stoked about that. I really didn't want to have to worry too much about diagnosing stuff and maybe replacing batteries and so on, especially when it was so cold out, because it really sucks to work on your car when it's so cold out. So I was glad that that did the trick. So anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot for watching. If you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Definitely consider subscribing, and drop me a comment below if you have any questions for me, any feedback. We always love to hear from you guys, and we will see you on the next one.